It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160, 101.1 FM, Indiana in the Morning, presented as always by First Commonwealth Bank. And in the studio with us this morning is Stuart Albaugh. He is the superintendent of the Harmony School District. Joined us last half hour. We talked about the school district, which was a refreshing reintroduction to the folks at Harmony. Now I want to talk about the PIAA, because that was the actual reason that we asked you to come and visit with us. You were one of those last week in State College, the so-called rogue superintendents who attended a meeting dealing with the PIAA and whether the PIAA is treating its school members fairly and appropriately, and whether you have a voice, and some of the reforms that you would like to see happen. Your initial impressions, well, maybe not initial, but after a week of reflecting on it, what was the meeting all about in your eyes?
Well, we wanted to make as many people aware of the current status as to what's going on in the playoff system, and that there is not equity. It is not a fair playing field once the schools move from their regular season into postseason. If you look at even the statistics that the PIAA provided, just in the last 10 years, the number of non-public, non-traditional private entities basically have doubled the number of state championships that they've won. From 1972 to 2008, they won approximately 17% of the state championships. But from 2008 to 2013, they've won 34% of the state championships. Now, in that time period, you've had a number of things take place, such as the Philadelphia Catholic Coalition entered the PIAA. You've had an increase of the private entities being able to advertise, TV, radio, billboards, so on and so forth. And, their enrollment is increasing. Mm-hmm. I'm not against the transfers. That doesn't bother me. If a child wants to go to St. Matthew's or Our Lady of the Highway, whatever, I completely support that. What I'm saying is, don't make a school like Harmony have to play a school like Bishop Carroll, who can recruit and have all-star performers. Mm-hmm. We're tied to the traditional boundary of a school district. The only people that can play for us are those who live there, or if we have a cooperative agreement with another school district, because that school district doesn't offer a particular sport.
Yeah.
Folks like Carroll, McCourt, Imatep, Kennedy Catholic, they can bring anybody in from anywhere that they want. Mm-hmm. There's this past year in girls basketball, a young lady won a state championship in the state of Virginia, moved to Pennsylvania, was declared eligible, and won a state championship in Pennsylvania. Wow. There was 3 young men who reside in the state of New Jersey, but attended school in a Philadelphia charter program that got to the state finals in boys basketball.
Yeah. The numbers that you cited
Yes.
get even worse when you understand that those private schools are generally winning in the 2 lowest classifications.
Yes.
Where the enrollment is the smallest. And Harmony, of course, is affected very much by that. You're a Class A school. But those percentages skyrocket when you get to A and AA, where the private, or what's now known as the non-boundary schools, where they are playing their ball. There seem to be so many different ways to solve this problem. The PIAA seems to be absolutely closed to all of them.
Well, from what we've gathered and from what we've read, the PIAA is taking the stand that the 1972 law that basically said the non-public schools had to be allowed to participate in PIAA-sponsored activities. PIAA is interpreting that as that means they have to have the same playoffs opportunities. What we're saying is we don't want to change the regular season. If Central Cambria and Bishop Carroll, who basically are next door neighbors, play each other because of a traditional rivalry, during the regular season, we have no problem with that. What we're saying is the postseason is being dominated because it's not a level playing field. There were incidents this year. I believe it was boys basketball. At the end of the first quarter, there was a score of 30-0.
Yeah.
Now, how do you go in front of your kids? And as a former coach, I would have a hard time doing this. How do I go in front of my kids and say, hey, you get a chance to play for a state championship, you get a chance to play for a state title, and then at the end of the first quarter, you're getting humiliated?
Yeah, that was a state title game.
Yes,
A
I believe
30
so.
to nothing lead at the end of one quarter of a state championship game, which
Yes.
means this is as accomplished public school as you could possibly find, and it gets in against a school that has such an inequity, such an advantage over them that really it had no chance from the opening tip.
Right, and that's the position that we're taking, and that was supported by a vast majority of the superintendents and administrators last week. Take the existing 6 classifications, have classes 1A through 4A go back to the traditional way of dividing the public school system, or the traditional boundary schools, and then have 5A and 6A for your non-traditional, non-public, non-boundary schools. Everybody still gets to be a state champion,
Yeah.
but those schools that have no boundaries and can recruit will play against each other. And those schools who have limitations or boundaries will play against each other. And everybody still gets an opportunity to be a state title holder.
Upshot of the meeting last week, you decided as a group that you would seek a legal opinion as to that 1972 law.
Yes.
And that should settle the question. The PIAA says, hey, it's the legislature's responsibility. Legislature says, no, it's the PIAA's responsibility. That should settle that question.
You would hope.
Do you see the member schools? Because one of the big complaints last week was the member schools really aren't being listened to by the PIAA. It's as if they work for the PIAA instead of the other way around. Do you see the member schools getting a louder voice?
Well, I think what the member schools are going to do, one of the things that we were criticized on was that we did not follow the appropriate protocol. We did not go to our district representatives, to the executive council, and make a complaint. So we are in the process of putting together a formal complaint about the current playoff system. We have reached out to PASA, which is the Pennsylvania Association of School Administrators, and PSBA, Pennsylvania School Board Association. We've reached out to their legal counsels for interpretations of the law. I can tell you that a number of solicitors from independent school districts have, whether their superintendents asked them or they took it upon themselves, they have sent to the initial 6 steering committee members interpretations that are basically saying the law says they're allowed to participate, and the law says that they must participate in all sponsored activities. It does not say anything about how to classify, and it does not say anything about how to set up playoffs. So, those are unsolicited solicitations.
Okay.
Once we get a PSBA ruling and a PASA ruling, we do plan on, as I said, filing a formal concern complaint with the PIAA. And then we are going to continue to hold a series of meetings. I know that before we left State College last week, the 6 of us talked about getting everybody together sometime in early December to sort of just get an update of where we are and where we want to go.
All right. So we'll look forward to that meeting, to the opinions that you'll have.
We're hoping, yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Hopefully Dr. Lombardi and the executive committee have heard enough. Hopefully their legal counsel has advised them that the law does not stipulate anything about the playoffs. And hopefully they will take a serious look at how to create a playoff system that will provide all students an opportunity to hold that state title or that state championship trophy.
He is Stuart Albaugh, the superintendent of the Harmony School District. Thanks so much for coming and visiting with us today. We
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
having me. I really enjoyed this.
It is the voice